She said it was for her mother's birthday gift, but I saw her give that gift to another man. I never thought a simple favor could unravel everything. It started 2 weeks ago when Emily's voicemail lit up with a sweet tremble in her voice. "My mom's birthday is coming," she said. "Can you help me pick something nice?" I slid across our kitchen table an envelope thick with cash. $500 I'd set aside for concert tickets. I felt proud to surprise her that way, imagining her mother's smile when she opened the perfect watch. For days I replayed that moment, the way her lips curved as she whispered thanks, how her eyes shimmered with gratitude. I buried the envelope under my laptop bag, convinced she'd spend it on something sentimental. What I didn't notice were the quick glances she shot at her phone whenever it buzzed. I chalked it up to excitement, to sharing gift ideas with her sister or best friend. We'd been together for almost 2 years, college sweethearts turned roommates, turned serious partners. We talked about moving in together, saving for a house, maybe even engagement by next spring. I trusted her without question. Her happiness was my happiness. That Saturday morning, we met for brunch at Sammy's Cafe. She seemed more radiant than usual, giggling at every text and typing under the table. I teased her. "Who's got you in stitches?" She rolled her eyes and smiled. "Just Mom, I swear." Later that night, I settled on the couch scrolling through our shared photo album, planning to caption a shot of her new apartment for Instagram. A notification drew my cursor to a pinned message from a fancy restaurant's handle, Edwin's Grill. I thought it was a confirmation email for her mom's reservation. Only hours later did I realize how naive I'd been. That night, I fell asleep to the hum of our apartment, convinced I was building a future with Emily. I didn't know the foundation was already cracking. As dawn broke, guilt twisted my stomach when I opened Instagram. A story from Edwin's Grill popped up on my feed, tagged by Emily's account. My heart raced as I tapped it. She was sitting in a dimly lit corner booth, wearing the blue dress I'd loved when we met. She smiled across the table, her eyes glistening. In her lap lay a small velvet box. She unhooked a silver watch, sliding it into the open hands of the man across from her. He clasped it around his wrist with a grin. They laughed. Then he kissed her cheek. Only he wasn't her mom. The sticker read, "Happy Birthday, Mom," in scripted font. At first I thought it was an inside joke. Maybe her mother had joined undercover for a prank. But when I swiped up to view the uploader's profile, I saw nothing familiar. No trace of her mom, just a private face and an account named Dapper Dan NYC. My chest tightened. My mind raced back to every time Emily slipped away to help her mom. I rewound the story, frame by frame, until I froze on his smirk. I sent a voice note to my friend Michael. "Bro, I think I've spotted Emily with someone else." Silence. Then Michael called back with a round of questions. His voice was calm but firm. "Show me." I hesitated. The next swipe felt like a confession. My hand trembled as I tapped the message icon and typed, "Who is this guy?" but deleted it. I felt exposed, like a detective sneaking behind my own life. Sweat gathered at my temples. I watched the clip one more time, searching for clues. The decor, the wine glasses, the way his sleeve patterned like designer fabric. I grabbed my laptop, opened Google Maps, and pinpointed Edwin's Grill on 5th Avenue. My mind spun possibilities. If Emily had lied, what else was she hiding? The screen blurred with my tears. I slipped my shoes on and headed out the door before she could wake up. As I approached Edwin's Grill, the city lights felt muted. I hesitated on the sidewalk, heart hammering. Michael's advice echoed in my head. Get proof. Don't confront rashly. I slipped inside and asked for a table for one, just in case Emily walked in. The hostess eyed me curiously. I brushed off suspicion with a mild laugh. "I'm meeting a friend." She led me past velvet curtains and marble floors. The scent of aged oak and citrus candles filled the air. I scanned each booth until I found her. Emily sat across from a man whose features aligned with the @Dapper Dan NYC profile. He wore a tailored suit and a smirk that made my chest clench. She reached across the table, brushing his sleeve as he handed back the velvet box, now empty. Relief washed over me. He'd given back the gift. But then she whispered something into his ear, and he leaned forward, cradled her hand, and said her name in a tone reserved for lovers. My throat went dry. I fumbled for my phone, dialing Michael in a whisper. "He's here. They're on date number 2, I croaked. He promised to stay on the line while I watched. I took a shaky breath and stood, rehearsing my confession. But just as I turned, Emily looked up. Her eyes widened, confusion flickering across her face. That was my cue. I walked toward them, each step heavier than the last. My palms dripped with sweat. My mind shouted to run away, to hide, to demand an explanation. But I approached, voice trembling. "Emily?" Her gasp echoed louder than the soft jazz in the background. All eyes in the room shifted. I held the envelope, now empty, out like a damning exhibit. The realization sank in. This wasn't a mistake. It was betrayal, played out under crystal chandeliers and the watchful gaze of strangers. I didn't need her words. The smirk on his face said it all. As the hush settled over Edwin's grill, I caught the murmur of diners shifting their attention my way. Emily froze, the color draining from her cheeks. For a moment we stood in the spotlight, the envelope trembling in my hand. She swallowed hard, eyes flicking between me and the other man, Daniel, who sat frozen, fork halfway to his mouth. "Jason," she whispered, voice cracking. I dropped the envelope onto the table with a splash of wine. The waiter gasped, plates rattling. "You explained to me it was for my mom," I said, jaw tight. "Then why did I see you hand a $500 watch to Daniel Matthews last night?" She blinked, then lunged to cover her phone, fingers fumbling over the screen. Daniel looked at me with an apologetic tilt. "Jason, I can explain," Emily began, but her lips parted and closed as she searched for the right lie. "You're overreacting," she finally said. "He's just a client. It's business." My pulse thundered. "Business?" I repeated, incredulous. "Since when does business dinners involve birthday gifts?" She drew a breath and met my gaze. "He's my colleague at Skin Lab," she murmured. "His mom moved here from Chicago and couldn't make it. I was helping him." I crouched by the table and grabbed her phone. The lock code was ours. I unlocked it with trembling fingers. A string of messages with Daniel exposed inside, jokes, flirtatious emojis, weekend plans. "You took me for an idiot," I said. Her eyes filled with tears. "Jason, please," I cut her off. "Promises, anniversaries, future plans. Was any of it real?" She looked away, and in that moment I understood. Real or not, trust was gone. Driving home, tears blurred the windshield. Michael had offered to pick me up and drive me to a friend's apartment, but I declined. I needed the silence. The streets of downtown Manhattan looked alien, the honking cars sounding like distant accusations. I replayed every moment from the past 2 weeks, searching for missed signals. That voicemail from her mother? A forgery. The brunch story? A convenient alibi. Every time she said, "Trust me," I folded the truth into the cracks of our life. I pulled into our shared driveway and stared at the apartment's windows, now dark. There was no Emily greeting me anymore. Instead, silence and the faint scent of her perfume lingered. I trimmed a single rose from the neighbor's garden and placed it on the front steps, an apology to myself for my gullibility. My mom's words echoed, "A good person deserves respect." I sank onto the hallway floor and let the tears come, unrestrained. Hours later, I scrolled through my phone, looking for closure. I found videos of our first date, her laughing as I fumbled a magic trick, her hand reaching for mine. A pang hit my chest. I posted a story announcing a break, not knowing if I was seeking sympathy or relief. Comments poured in, "Stay strong, he doesn't deserve you." Strangers became my support system. That night, I drafted a letter to Emily, unforgiving but honest, listing every lie. Instead of sending it, I deleted it. I realized some wounds heal by letting go, not fighting. I set my phone aside, pulled a notebook from the couch, and began to write. Today I start over. The pages filled with tentative hope, each word a promise to rebuild trust in myself. The next morning, sunlight filtered through the curtains, warm but unfamiliar. For the first time in weeks, my chest wasn't clogged with dread. I reached over to the empty side of the bed and felt only the quilt. I let out a slow breath, as if exhaling all the deceit. I took a long shower, letting cold water wash away the shame. I laced up my running shoes and jogged through the quiet streets, each step steadying my resolve. At the park, I met Michael for a coffee. Black for me, latte for him. He didn't ask about Emily. Instead, he asked me about my plans. I told him about enrolling in a cooking class I had put off, about revisiting photography, about building a bookshelf for our apartment so it wouldn't feel so empty. He nodded, proud. Later, I scheduled my first therapy session in our neighborhood, determined to heal properly. Back at home, I cleared out reminders of her, Photos, souvenirs, playlist. I replaced them with fresh mementos, a Polaroid of the tree I climbed as a kid, a ticket stub from last night's poetry reading. The apartment felt like blank canvas again. That evening, I wrote in my journal, "I'll trust again. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day." I closed the book and called my mom. Hearing her voice was like sunlight cracking through clouds. She reminded me that love without trust is like a rose without petals. I smiled. The stem might be strong, but it needed room to bloom, and I was ready for the next season.